And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting Australian Indian Radio's daily live update. And isn't it wonderful to see the beautiful clear day out there? Yes, it's very, very nice. Well, right now, let's get on with the show for today. Once again, thank you so much for joining. It's so good to see you and to have your company today. But let's have a quick look at the update for today before we move on with the show for today. So the forecast for the rest of Monday, July the 20th. Yes, already 20th. Yes. So let's move on with the show. Yes, it is going to be a maximum of 24 today and a sunny weather as well. So a chance of rain is 0%. Brisbane area is sunny with morning fogs which have passed. In the west and south has got light winds. Fire danger still remains high, as I've always mentioned that please do take care around this time of the year, especially when we're getting into this very, very dry season, and winds as well. The westerlies are starting to blow, and as soon as the westerlies start to blow, we know something starts happening. We edge towards Eka, yes. Westerlies and Eka always there. So sun protection is recommended from 10 a.m. till about 1:40 p.m. today, a little bit longer than the other time because it's quite sunny out there, yes. And the UV protection is recommended, and the rating today is at 4, which is quite moderate. So right now, let's take a look at all the number of cases around Australia and the world. So first of all, let's move to Queensland. 1,071 confirmed cases. Recovery is 1,060. Deaths at this point in time remain at 6. And Australia-wide, numbers have grown up. So the confirmed cases is 11,802 with 8,272 recovery and deaths at 122. We will look at what's happening down south, especially in Victoria. As I know, people have been, hanging out for a butter chicken, and they've been driving around lots of places. I've seen a very innovative Facebook ad from one of the restaurants there says, "Don't risk a fine. We'll bring the butter chicken to you, home delivered." So there you go. Someone's picking up on that. Worldwide, the numbers is now, I was saying this on Saturday, that we edging towards 14 is 14.4 million. That's right, 14.4 million confirmed cases, and the recovery 8.07 million, 603 deaths recorded. So that's on the global scale in a nutshell, and we will look at all this news in a little bit more detail. But right now, as we know, in around Brisbane, we've always had this problem of the fire ants. And thanks to Angela Owen, she's alerted us to the fact that that's Councillor Angela Owen, that's been an outbreak of the fiery ants on the south side. Let's take a very quick look at a short coverage from Channel 7 on this firing. So the foreign pest is invading suburbs of Brisbane south side with at least 1,000 fire ant nests discovered around homes and playgrounds. Biosecurity officers are trying to eradicate the spread, but they are up against a growing population. So there we are.
Foreign invader born in Brazil spreading in Palara. 1,034 nests discovered in less than 24 hours in an industrial estate near homes, a childcare centre and 2 at a popular playground.
It is very concerning because for young children, if they fall on a fire ant's nest, it can be extremely painful.
It's scary for my child when they play outside.
Fire ants arrived in Queensland nearly 2 decades ago. They are hidden beneath soft piles of dirt, hard to spot, making it easy to be bitten.
It is so important for these mounds to be checked out.
Biosecurity Queensland have baited 687 nests, destroyed 137 using 455 litres of Termidor, 11.5 kilograms of bait.
The nests right throughout Palara, but also in Algester.
The latest tracking map shows the ants are particularly prevalent in Norwell, Buchan, Chambers Flat, Stockley and Riverbend, and there are signs they're reaching the northern suburbs of the Gold Coast. One of the biggest concerns about these ants is just how quickly they can spread. The queen itself has the ability to fly 2 kilometres where she can set up a new colony, making eradication difficult and community awareness crucial. If you find a nest, call the team on 13 25 23. Jessica Mummy, 7 News.
Thank you there very much there, Councillor Angela Awanda, for that update and for sending in the clip that we could see. So that is wonderful that, with the community interest at heart, that this news is brought to everyone. Now, as I said before, what we do is we get the news from all the different channels of publicly available news on the public domain and put it together in a format so that it is presented as a show. And we compile things that are of importance to the people. And today we're going to look at something that is concerning everyone with the COVID-19 and everything that's happening. So what is going to happen with the financial situation of many people within the communities? A new research reveals that almost 4 in 10 adult Australians have either experienced financial abuse or know someone who has. The common behavior involves a perpetrator using all of their partner's wages for household expenses while spending their own money only on themselves. So this is where the joint account or not keeping trace of accounts come in. Building on years of work, Commonwealth Bank today announces 2 initiatives to tackle financial abuse in collaboration with sectors, partners and experts. As we know, even in cases of adults and a lot of elderly people, their finances have been abused by the close ones. New initiatives include an in-house community well-being team, financial coaching, and interest-free loans for victims. So that is a good news along this time. So today we're going to talk to someone about that from Commonwealth Bank. And today we will be talking to Sian Lewis, who is the spokesperson for Commonwealth Bank. She took up the role of Group Executive Human Resources on 1st of August 2018 when she joined Commonwealth Bank. And previously she's held many positions since 2014 and has led more than 2,500 people across the customer contact centers. Prior to joining CBA, Sian spent 9 years at Westpac across retail and business banking, including as head of New South Wales Retail Network. Originally from UK, the first 10 years of Sian's career were in HR. So it is wonderful. So welcome to the studio, Sian. Yes, thank you, and it is wonderful to have your company here today as well. So now talking about all these things that are happening out there, the financial abuse and everything. So can you tell us a little bit about the new community attitudes or financial abuse findings?
Widespread the issue of financial abuse is, and the many misconceptions and barriers to receiving support. Through our work with community organisations, we're seeking to raise awareness and address the issue of financial abuse. The research showed that 4 in 5 Australians agree that financial abuse is a widespread problem, with about the same amount saying they're not aware of the support available to people who are experiencing financial abuse. Furthermore, about 63% of people believe that their bank should be doing something to address this issue.
So that is wonderful that CBA is doing that. So what are some of the examples of the financial abuse?
The most common behaviours of financial abuse, according to our survey, include having a perpetrator who uses all their partner's wages for household expenses, with the perpetrator spending their own money on themselves, hiding assets from their partner, taking complete control of the family finances, and refusing to contribute financially to the household, taking out debt in their victim's name. It's one of the most powerful ways to keep someone trapped in a domestic and family violence situation and can cause victims serious financial distress. And
it definitely can, and it is a situation which is worrying within the community, that this kind of things are happening, and especially when you mentioned domestic violence, and so there are many organizations who are working in that space as well, and they would probably be interested to know that how can CBA help people impacted by domestic violence and financial abuse.
We want to make it easier for victims and survivors to break free of that financial abuse. It's a hidden epidemic directly affecting 1 in 4 Australians, and we want to change that. So we're extending and expanding our support for people impacted by domestic and family financial abuse with the launch of 2 new services and tailored support designed to make it easier for victims and survivors to start their next chapter and achieve long-term financial independence. This includes a new partnership with Good Shepherd to launch the Financial Independence Hub, and an in-house community wellbeing team to offer trauma-informed financial assistance to our customers who may be experiencing financial abuse. Our new initiatives have all been developed in close collaboration with domestic and family violence experts to make sure that we're providing the right solution in the right way.
And that is wonderful to hear, and maybe there would be an opportunity to work with some of the free organizations that work in that space, such as White Ribbon as well. So when you talk about the financial independence and the help that CBA is going to do, so can you tell us a little bit about what this Financial Independence Hub is?
The Financial Independence Hub will offer tailored financial coaching by Good Shepherd to help people by setting them on the path to long-term financial recovery, and that's regardless of who they bank with. The program provides specialist one-on-one financial coaching to help people get back on their feet, along with access to solutions like interest-free loans. We also have a new community wellbeing team, which is a specialist team that's undergone trauma-informed training, so they can provide our customers experiencing financial abuse with the extra care and support required. And that includes direct financial assistance, safe banking support, and referrals to relevant external domestic and family violence experts.
And as I mentioned before, that is wonderful that it is being done, and of course taking into account the domestic violence scene there as well. Now, there's so much information that we can say in this session because we have limited time. But I'm pretty sure that a lot of our listeners may be eager to find out a little bit more. So where can our listeners go to find out more about this Financial Independence Hub?
Anyone wanting more information about CommBank support for victims and survivors of domestic and financial abuse can search CommBank Next Chapter.
Thank you very much, and it's been wonderful to have you here on the show.
No, thank you.
So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, and as I said, the new research from Commonwealth Bank's Community Attitudes to Financial Abuse survey reveals that almost 40% of the adult population has either experienced financial abuse or know of someone who has. This comes from CBA as they launch a new chapter of a program that will see the bank bring a range of services to support to market, including a finance Independence Hub and the community well-being team. And that is what we were talking about with Sian Lewis, the Commonwealth Bank spokesperson. And it is such a wonderful initiative which doesn't cost you anything. Go find out and get to know. With 4 in 1, 5 Australians agreeing abuse is a widespread problem, CommBank's tailored support services are designed to make it easier for the victims and survivors to start their next chapter and achieve long-term financial independence. This comes as only half of those who have experienced financial abuse have sought help. So there you go. Many have suffered that abuse, but very few have come forward. About 53% have only come forward seeking the help. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm moving on to the next segment, and it is wonderful once again, as I said, to have your company. And now we're going to look at the news in brief. And before we do that, we will take a very, very quick commercial break.
GlobeNet Reality, ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी 1989 से लेकर अब तक का विश्वसनीय और माननीय ब्रिस्बेन का रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। उषा चंद्रा, जो कि ग्लोबनेट की डायरेक्टर है, अपने ग्राहकों को ईमानदार और एथिक सर्विसेज देती हैं। अगर आप ब्रिस्बेन की प्रॉपर्टी में पूंजी लगाना चाहते हैं और आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को प्रोफेशनली मैनेज किया जाए, तो आप आज ही कांटेक्ट कीजिए उषा चंद्रा को। लैंडलाइन नंबर है 38654466 और मोबाइल नंबर है 0419775416। और आप प्रॉपर्टी की अधिक जानकारी और करंट अपडेट्स के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट पे लॉगिन कर सकते हैं। हमारी वेबसाइट है www.globenetreality.com.au। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी आपका अपना लोकल रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। हमारा पता है ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, शॉप नंबर 5, 2281 सैंडगेट रोड, बुंदल, क्वींसलैंड। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, रियल एस्टेट इज अवर वर्ल्ड।
As I always say, it definitely is there. Well, right now it's time to take a look at news in brief. New arrangements for health and aged care workers in Victoria. Victoria's Health Minister Jenkin Mikados outlines the detail of a package for health and aged care workers to keep workers at a single institution instead of moving between different workplaces.
So
Let's
today,
take a look.
The Commonwealth Government, together with the Victorian Government, are announcing a significant package of measures to minimise the risk of harm, to minimise the risk of further spread of this virus in our aged care facilities. We know that we have a transient workforce, in many cases a casualised workforce working across many aged care facilities. We have seen specific instances in recent days of staff who've worked across multiple facilities, and then we've had multiple outbreaks across those facilities. So the package will involve workforce funding support. The federal government will be providing funding as the funder of this system to ensure that employers can minimise the movements of staff across facilities. This is a really important step forward in terms of reducing that risk, and most importantly to ensure that workers will not be financially disadvantaged by these changes. So there will be funding to be provided to ensure that aged care employers cover any additional entitlements to enable employees to work at a single site. As the Premier has explained, as a Victorian Government, we are already providing a hardship payment. So if an aged care worker, or in fact any worker, does not have access to leave entitlements, they can access a $1,500 payment from the Victorian Government to ensure that they can be isolated for that 14-day period because they've been either diagnosed or are a close contact. This is a really important measure to ensure that people are not having to make a difficult choice between putting food on the table for their family or turning up for work when they are unwell.
And that is correct too, because many times we see that people make that decision in a very, very rushed manner. Now the federal government is going to provide millions of masks to Victorians. Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt announced that government will provide millions of masks to aged care and disability workers in Victoria. Now, many people have said that, all this should have been done ages ago. Why have we waited so long? But anyway, let's hear from Federal Health Minister Greg Hunt.
In order to protect these residents and the staff, most of whom have contracted the virus within the community following, of course, the catastrophic breach of hotel quarantine, which has seen a city of 5 million in lockdown. As a consequence, what we're doing is a new series of actions with Victoria. An additional 1 million masks for regional Victorian aged care facilities. An additional 1 million masks for disability workers across Victoria. We are putting in place additional staff work support, so as in partnership with the aged care sector in Victoria, there will be the capacity for additional funds for additional periods of work for individuals to remain within a single aged care facility.
as they mentioned that why was it, why has it taken them so long to get to this point, that all this kind of things should have been done before. And as the minister there said, that they're needing all kind of helps that they need. Well, New South Wales and Queensland border as well, it needs help. So ADF, the Australian Defence Force, has come to help the police patrol the New South Wales and Queensland border. And I was only speaking to someone who's actually been on the border from QPS, and we were talking about the experiences that he had about people trying to sneak in through whichever way they can, and the excuses that he was telling about that people come up with. But anyway, IDF will help police patrol the New South Wales and Queensland border. Gold Coast Police Chief Superintendent Mark Wheeler said that he requested extra support to help ease the congestion at these checkpoints, as there are long queues happening there. So as you can see, the queues and the people coming through, it's a lot of work there for the police, but of course the IDF is coming to their assistance there as well. Police hand out dozens of fines at Rowdy's 60% party in Western Sydney. People just never learn, do they? Police broke up a party in Western Sydney overnight with estimates of 60 people in attendance. New South Wales Police attended the party in Schofields, handing out fines to those at the party and arresting those who refuse to move on. So there's people who just refuse to move on at all.
Last night, about 11:30 p.m, police attended Nottingham Street, Schofields, in response to calls about a noisy party. There, police discovered in excess of 60 people gathered at the property, in excess of the public health order, where no more than 20 persons should visit any home at any one time currently. At the same time, a fight broke out inside the premises, inside the property, involving 15 people. Police entered the property with the assistance of other police from neighbouring commands, and basically from there, in excess of up to 60 people will be given fines in relation to breaching the public health order. And from there, when police dispersed the group, there was a number of people that refused to move on, and 30 people were then arrested, and of those people, 15 were taken back to Riverstone Police Station to have their identities.
So as I mentioned before, that some people will just never learn, and they keep moving on and doing things that they're not supposed to. While Victoria records 363 cases as masks become mandatory. Premier Daniel Andrews announced that masks will become mandatory from Wednesday as the state records 363 new cases.
There are 5,696 cases of coronavirus in Victoria. That's 363 new cases since yesterday. 36 of those are connected to known and controlled outbreaks. 327 of those cases are under active investigation. There are 2,837 active cases across the state. 130 Victorians are in hospital, and 28 of those are in intensive care. I'm very sad to have to inform you all that there are now 38 fatalities as a result of this virus. That is 3 further deaths since yesterday. 2 men in their 90s and a woman in her 90s. And we send our best wishes to the families of those 3 individuals. This will be a particularly sad and challenging time for them, and we send our love and support to them. Now today there are some new restrictions that I need to announce. First and foremost, masks and face coverings will from 11:59 p.m. Wednesday night be mandatory for everyone in Melbourne and Mitchell Shire. if you are out of your home for one of the 4 permitted reasons, then you need to be wearing a mask, and I stress, or a face covering. It need not be a hospital grade mask, it need not be one of the handmade masks like I was wearing when I came in today. It can be a scarf, it can be a homemade mask. As you know, we have the best part of 2.5–3 million of these masks on order. The first really significant, batch of those will arrive this week, around 300,000, perhaps a little more than that, and we will have more to say about how we're going to distribute those, the different methods we'll use, and who will be eligible to receive those as quickly as possible. I'll give you one example. I think GP surgeries will be an obvious place where we can, particularly for older people who may have difficulty in finding a mask or being able to go out shopping for one or even make one. The further details on that will be provided a little bit later in the week. The first of those items don't arrive until about mid-week, but we'll have more to say about that in due course. Now, the common sense will guide this. This is on the advice of the Chief Health Officer, that it's a relatively simple thing, but it's also about embedding behaviour that I think is going to be just as important on the other side of this second wave as it is in bringing these case numbers down. We are going to be wearing masks in Victoria and potentially in other parts of the country.
So they have, as Victoria takes on some stronger measures, some of the measures with people are saying that should have been or could have been implemented ages ago, but nevertheless, that's the way things are going now. Well, let's take a quick inside look at the cave, how and what's been happening with this virus over the week.
And Casey, a better number yesterday for Victoria, but why should we still be cautious here?
Yeah, morning, David. Well, the Prime Minister says we need to learn to live with SARS-CoV-2, and that means we're in an indefinite game of hide and seek with coronavirus. This weekend is critical in 2 states. First, Victoria, where, yes, yesterday's numbers were a welcome drop from the peaks we've seen, but the trend is still yet to turn around. We need to see smaller numbers, more of them, and soon. Let's hope we do see that to minimise the number of people dying with coronavirus. 15 of them so far in July in Victoria, including 3 yesterday. Victoria's second wave of deaths has clearly already begun, and it's looking almost certain that it will be bigger than its first. We're also keeping an eye on regional Victoria, which has seen a lift in cases this week. 9 of them yesterday. There are still small numbers. They're spread out across the state as well. Many of these cases of people commuting to work in Melbourne and then bringing the virus back with them. Melbourne now has the almost half of all of Australia's coronavirus infections through this pandemic, and almost twice as many per capita as any other state. And then there's Sydney. The Crossroads Hotel cluster now numbers 45 cases, some of them several chains of transmission away from the initial case. And then there's a small cluster of 3 at a Thai restaurant in Wetherill Park, and a handful of cases of unknown origin. Could those cases all be a sign that this virus is starting to get away from us? This week there's been more local transmission in New South Wales than the previous 10. And the list of venues affected continues to grow. New South Wales Health has told anyone that attended these 6 venues on particular dates, including now a venue in Batemans Bay, to self-isolate for a full fortnight. And there's now a growing list, 17 venues, where the patrons of which should be on high alert for any COVID-19 symptoms. David, we really should ask the question, is this a game of hide and seek or whack-a-mole?
So that's the big question there. So ladies and gentlemen, it's been a week which has been, with mixed reactions throughout. There have been some restrictions that have been eased, but we have seen down south the numbers coming up as well. So right now we're going to leave you with the upcoming events for the week. The BSK Annual Cup, Gurdwara programs that's happening. And while we've got this happening as a slideshow, I'd like to just make mention of GoPure Queensland's India Day Fair Gala Dinner, which will take place on the 15th. Tomorrow we might talk in detail about what's going to happen after a series of meetings today. But the date is confirmed. It is going to be on the 15th, as it was always going to be. The format might be different, as we have discussed before, but final discussions, we will talk in great details about where you can get the tickets, how you can come in and be part of this. We will talk about that in great detail for tomorrow. So tomorrow, we will look at India Day Fair 2020, what format it will be in, and where and how people will be able to watch, come, and some people, the fortunate ones, be able to take part in it as well. So there will be limited seating, and we would encourage you, as soon as the tickets are released, to get on there pretty quick, smart. Remember, we'll be working in with the state government and the local governments, and that's why the announcement had been held back up till now. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having your company. Hey, it is always good to see you. Keep those comments coming, and thank you so much for everyone for those wonderful comments and for sharing, and especially those groups, many groups which allow us to share the post on their pages. Thank you so much, because what we talk about here is of community interest. It's not of someone's individual interest, so it is about community interest. And I have always extended this invitation to everyone. If anyone has got any topic they'd like to discuss, we will welcome you. We will welcome you on the show. There are very many means of connecting with the show. You can come via the phone. We can send you a video link. You can come into the studios here as well. So if you have any point that needs to be taken out to the community, we will gladly do that for you. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Be good. Most important, be safe.